if your brain thinks you're 20, but your body is disagreeing, you're going to love this episode of the Movement Movement podcast, the podcast for people who want to know the truth about what it takes to have a happy, healthy, strong body, typically starting feet first, because, those things are your foundation. And here we break down the propaganda, the mythology, and frankly, sometimes the outright lies you've been told about what it takes to run or walk or hike or work out or do yoga or CrossFit, whatever you like to do, and to do that enjoyably, efficiently, effectively. Wait, did I say enjoyably? Trick question. I know I did. Because if you're not having fun, you're not going to keep it up anyway. So, do something that's fun for you. Find one of those. I'm Stephen Sashen, co-founder, co-CEO of Xero Shoes, your host of the Movement Movement podcast. And we call it that because that includes you, you'll hear why and how in a second, we're creating a movement around natural movement, letting your body do what it's made to do. And the way you can help, it's really easy. If you like, go to www.jointhemovementmovement.com. Doesn't take anything to join. There's no secret handshake. There's no money involved. There's no song we just sing every morning when we get up. Just that's, the domain that I got. But you'll find the previous episodes, all the places you can find us on social media. And when you go there, give us a review, give us a thumbs up, like us, hit the bell icon on YouTube. You know the drill. If you want to be part of the tribe, just subscribe. So let's get started and have some fun. Carl, do me a favor. Tell people who you are and what the hell you're doing here.
All right. My name is Carl Bratland. My Instagram handle is LiveFitCarl. And basically what I do, or what I've started to do, is help busy dads become fit, stay fit, healthy, and being a dad of 4. And I guess sort of doing that myself. People started asking me what I was doing. So I started creating programs and helping, dads do the same. And that's kind of where I've navigated to, because they relate to me and can ask me questions about what's working for me and now what's working for my clients. Yeah. But the focus more on, being functional, longevity, and not, obviously we all want to look better, right? But that's just kind of a secondary result a lot of times. But so helping dads figure out how to fit it in their lives and do what works for them and make it lifelong habits.
So for anyone who's not a dad, I am not a dad, but this is, of course, interesting to me because it's the same busy thing. Let's say my wife and I, our business is our child. So, and given how much time it takes, I would put myself in the busy dad category, even without having actual biological children. And if you're not even a man, for lack of a better term these days, we're going to want to listen to this because there might be something you can pass along to the man in your life or the person who identifies as a man or a busy dad.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, I have, women, clients, moms, and busy men who aren't dads, but the niche is, busy dads, because that's just who relates to me. And that's what I really focus on. But like I said, the human body is the human body. So it reacts to exercise in pretty similar ways regardless.
So, I started by saying, if your brain thinks you're 20, but your body disagrees, how old are you? Because, you don't look like, I'm 61. It's a whole different game. How old are you?
I will be 42 on September 20th. So
happy,
about a week.
Very early birthday.
Yeah. So broke my 40s and now, yeah.
What I can tell you, for people who are not into something like Masters Athletics, I'm a competitive sprinter, and in the Masters track world, what's really fun is you enter a new age group every 5 years. Yeah. So, when I turned 40, it was actually I didn't start sprinting again until I was 45, but when I turned 50, total blast, 55, total hoot, 60, couldn't be more awesome. So, those birthdays ending in 5s and 0s get very entertaining when you've got something to work with.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, I looked into some of the CrossFit stuff and was really into that for a while. And so I know like the age groups. And so it's like maybe when you get towards into the next age group, maybe you're like, are you like more elite then? Like when you turn 45, are you like, oh, suddenly I'm the best in this group? And then you become like 49, are you like the worst, or is it the opposite?
No, it's an interesting question. For me, I've been, as a sprinter and in track and field, they have all American times that change every 5 years, and they get slower every 5 years. And for sprinting, they get way slower, way faster once you get over 60. I only care about making all American times, and happily, rather than winning, because there's a handful of guys who are former Olympians and, who are never going to crush me. I mean, we're all genetic freaks, but they are the freakiest of the freaks. So I've been happy that I've set all American times at the top of the age range, like at 49 and at 59, et cetera. So that's been really nice. But when you do hit the new one, like at 60, it's like, all right, here's my best chance to crush it. And so that's fun. And if there is a major competition, you do think you have a bit of an edge if you're 60 instead of 64. Sometimes that's true. Sometimes not so much. There's a good friend of mine who, he beats guys 20 years younger than him. He's just a complete mutt. so he doesn't care.
Yeah.
But those of us at the, let's call it the far end of the top of the funnel or whatever the hell, far end of the at the top of the whatever.
Yeah.
So we're just trying to end up in a semifinal or in a finals. That's all.
Yeah. That's cool. I like it.
So what were you doing? I mean, what were you talking to me about this, the journey that got here, about both your fitness journey and how that related to becoming a father of four and what you had to do to wake up to the fact that you were no longer 20?
So I started out like college wise. I was always interested in fitness and, strength specifically just from a young age from sports. My dad was into lifting and bodybuilding, things like that. And once I got into sports, you quickly realize that, strength, fitness, nutrition, all that stuff, like, changes your performance. So getting stronger helped me in sports. So I kind of got hooked on, the lifting and the fitness stuff from high school, really. And then my initial education was in, exercise science. So I got like a master's in that. And I don't know, for whatever reason, I was into coaching. I coached wrestling. So I always liked helping people and coaching different ages and kids, adults, whatever, college kids. And then for whatever reason, like the fitness field didn't quite click with me once I got out of college. Like, I didn't really want to be like a personal trainer. I thought maybe I'd be like a strength coach somewhere, but to get at like those universities, and it's few and far between to be like a D1 strength coach, like you got to kind of know somebody and be in the right avenue. There's only a select few, but so eventually I got certified to teach. Then I've been a teacher for like the last 10 years, high school, and coaching a little bit there. And then I just was been doing all my fitness stuff. I got some certifications. I've been working out, and they started posting it all on social media. I don't even know why, actually, just something different, whatever. It was the thing to do. High school, people talk about TikTok and Instagram and all that. So started posting workouts, things I was doing, and eventually kind of grew a following. People started asking me stuff like what I did, and they were interested, and they started asking me if I made programs. So I started kind of doing some of that stuff on the side, like a side gig, just really robust, making programs for a couple of people, like Excel documents, and just not like a really streamlined process. And it just kind of started to grow. And the more people asked, the more I had to all right, I got to figure out like a real, like smooth process here. And I got into like online coaching and got connected with a company, got my own app. And so, yeah, eventually it's just kind of kept growing. And then now I've narrowed down my niche, and here we are with Busy Dads, and essentially being an online coach for busy dads. And, I still teach, and I still have that job, but I don't know, the online side might become the job. We'll see what happens. Cause I like helping others, and I like that I can reach anybody in the world. And it gives me a flexible schedule, obviously, so I can, work and check into my clients and, communicate at any time, anywhere, just because the whole world's connected now. And I don't have to go like 9 to 5 or 8 to whatever job, be restrained by that. Because a year ago, so my identical twin girls just turned 1 year old on the 26th of August. So now we have 4 kids, which has changed things a lot. So I've been staying at home. So I'm like the stay-at-home daddy daycare for the last almost a year now. And I'll be staying at home this whole like school year, taking care of the twins, doing all stuff at home. But then obviously I'm able to do like my kind of coaching stuff as well. So that's sort of where I'm at right now in the process. Stay-at-home dad, online coach. I guess that's why dads want to reach out and let me help them, because they're trying to figure out how I'm doing it.
So talk to me about the how you're doing it part, about, whether you had either of those realizations that A, hey, your body and your brain are not in the same age range, and B, just, what you had to do to adapt to being a busy dad, and how, sort of, I don't know if there was a kind of come to Jesus moment of like, oh crap, things have fallen off the rails, now I got to do something, or if it was just this evolution of how am I going to be able to maintain the activity level and fitness that I'm looking for when, holy crap, I'm barely getting any sleep, et cetera.
Yeah. So the transition from the kind of like the 20-year-old thinking to now I'm 40. I mean, I turned 40, so that was a milestone, just I think in any man's life. But I was doing like I said, a lot of CrossFit. I was super into it, and I was trying in my mind. I thought when I got in my 40s, like you were saying, I would go into try to get the CrossFit Masters Games type thing. And I normally probably weigh like 170, ish. And most of those guys are probably almost 200, right? Like they're big dudes. So, some of those guys that are smaller, I don't know if you know any of them, like Josh Bridges, and some of them are smaller athletes. They do well in some events, but like the huge lifting events, they're just not big enough. So I was trying to get big and strong.
Oh, dude, look, I'm 5'5", 145. And, the first time I walked into a CrossFit box, I went, hey, this is a blast. But how come I'm having a deadlift 300 the same as those guys who are twice my weight? Yeah. That just doesn't add up. I mean, I can do it, but it's not the same. It's a whole different game.
So I was trying to get as big as strong as I could. I was like 195. So I put on a lot of weight. I was strong. I was like in the best shape. Those CrossFit dudes, like they're in a phenomenal shape, men and women of my life, really. As far as, but like I started to realize as I got closer to 40, like my body hurt. Like I just hurt. I was just like, how am I in like the best shape of my life? But like, I literally like can't move. Like it hurts me to like move and get out of bed. And so I was like, something's not right here. I was always just like aching. So that was sort of the realization of maybe this isn't the path for, and then I was having kids, and maybe this isn't the path for somebody who's just wants to be fit and look better and move better and be able to play with their kids and forever. You do whatever they want to do in life forever. Like not go to the nursing home, not be limited by, cause I was kind of like, I'm going to be like this beast, strong, huge guy. And I'm going to be in the nursing home because my freaking joints hurt so much or whatever, So that was like the realization for me then, that it probably wasn't sustainable forever. And I maybe was doing more harm than good. Because some of those movements, it's like, do I really need to be doing like overhead snatches? Do I really need to be doing muscle ups? Do I really need to be doing handstand walks? Like I was kind of like hurting myself, forcing these mobility. Like I wasn't really mobile enough to do some of the movements. And then, you get tired and you're just forcing yourself through that. And you know how it is. And it's like all of a sudden you're trying to keep up with the 23-year-old next to you. And you're hurting yourself. It's the competition's good, but it can be negative. So that was when I changed and started focusing more on myself and just trying to move better, do everything correctly, finding like the smaller, minor muscles and joints and such that you don't really focus on in CrossFit and major lifting. You're just doing the major lifts, And I realized that I started to feel like a lot better. I mean, I lost weight. I weigh like 170 pounds now. So I lost like all that weight, that muscle. I mean, I'm not like fat or anything, but I just don't lift like that anymore.
So what were the things? So if we can get more specific into that, what were the things that specifically changed? So like what are the exercises you stopped doing? What are the ones you started doing? And and on the dropping all that weight, I mean, clearly you've got to eat to get there. I imagine that part of, dropping it was really just not eating that much.
Yeah. It was not lifting like so heavy all the time. Like I was, just that heavy lifting of, squats, and I still do, squats, deadlifts, things like that, and different variations. But like I was just doing it so heavy and so much volume,
right?
Like you said, and obviously eating a lot too, and it was just like too much for my body. I think I was overtraining probably. But things like I said, like a lot of the Olympic movements, like with the power cleans and the snatches, the thrusters and things like that. Like I stopped doing really with a barbell. I don't do them that much with a barbell anymore. I'll use like a dumbbell, kettlebell. It's just like that stuff was like so much, wear and tear on my shoulders. Doing an overhead squat. It's like, I mean, you might be able to do it, but like how many people can actually do an overhead squat with the barbell over their head? Like that's such a mobile movement. And it was just like destroying like my shoulders and my spine, my knees, just trying to force that position that I probably wasn't mobile enough to really do. Like I said, the muscle ups, like I don't need to do a muscle up. Like pull-ups are good. Why do I need to do a muscle up? Why do I need to walk on my hands? Like that stuff was just like wearing on my body so much. And then some of the workouts where it's like, all right, you're going to do 200 burpees for time or whatever. It's just a lot of the same movement over and over and over. It just creates, so much wear and tear on your body because you're not mixing it up. So I still do like, I guess CrossFit is like really anything that's across different modalities of fitness. Like if you're running and then you're doing push-ups, like you're essentially doing CrossFit. They just coined the name, right?
Yeah.
It's fitness across, strength, endurance, muscular endurance, cardiovascular endurance. So they just made it a thing that's competition. And so I still do versions of it. It's just not at that scale. I took out some of those movements that were just too much. I was a little smarter with it. I started dropping the weight and just really focusing on form, technique, movement, and not worrying so much about the leaderboard. That was the thing too, is I would go on there during and then you do the open, right? So I'm like turning 40 and I'm like, all right, I'm going to do the open. There's like 5 or 6 events, and you do it. And it's like, I'm a freaking beast. And then I go check the leaderboard. I'm like 1,500th place in the US. And I'm like, what? How is that even possible? I'm literally in the best shape of my life. How many people can be in that much better shape than me? Like, I felt like I was kind of a beast. And there's sort of like depressing, like, well, not making the CrossFit Games with being 1,500th place, and that really hit home too. It's like some of these people, like you said, are like Olympians. They're like, it's like Matt Frazier's now or whatever. He's not really competing, but let's say he moved into the 40-year-old division. Like, I'm not going to beat him.
Yeah.
Rich Froning,
Yeah, that thing went.
That was eye-opening.
I think this is a really common thing for anybody who was athletic when they were young or even getting back into it. I mean, I remember when I first started sprinting again, my first goal was to, thinking I'm going to win races. And then I met the guys who were winning races. And it's like, now my goal is to like show up at the starting line and have people wonder what the hell I'm doing there. And then I beat, at least there's usually going to be, well, in a national meet, there'll be a handful of guys, but in a regional meet, tops, there's going to be one guy who beats me and usually not that. So, then I want people when I finish the race to go, what the hell just happened? So, but yeah, that wake up call and I think, I don't know if women have this as much as men do, but you get back into something and you start imagining, I'm going to be the oldest guy in the Olympics in this event. I'm going to be just that you have this idea that you're going to somehow transcend time and transcend physical limitations. And then something happens where you go, okay, that was a little misleading. So, which makes me wonder. So talk to me just about that transition in your mind from realizing, hey, you couldn't do all this stuff and getting used to, or getting, I don't even know what the word is, just switching from this idea that you're going to crush it and be the biggest, strongest, whatever, to what you're doing now. What was that transition like in terms of time and what was going on in your brain?
I mean, I tried like just a lot of just random different workouts for a little bit. I was just doing a lot of bodyweight stuff. I was doing some, like the Wex, is that his name? The guy who does like the ropes, and I was doing some of his stuff and just mixing up and I was like, I got to change something. And then I really just kind of decided, like, what I actually decided was the leaderboard was kind of like was the problem, basically. I was comparing myself to like everyone else, and I was like, how come I can't do it that fast? You know what I mean? And so I was I try harder and I would like push harder. I'm like, I must not be pushing hard enough. There's no way I can't do that. And I finally just decided, like, you know what? I don't care what, like, my brother was doing workouts too, and he would beat me in a lot of stuff. And like, he's a few years older than me. And I'm just like, I just don't care what anyone else is doing. And I can't, and I was on social media then, so you look on social media and you're like, look at these people. Like, they're like, there's somebody always more fit and better than you somewhere, whether it's real or not, it's on social media. So I just like, I don't care what these other people are doing. I need to just worry about myself and how I feel and what's best for like my life and my current circumstance. So that was the mindset shift. Is I just like decided like I would do, like, if I would look up a workout maybe on CrossFit and I'd be like, I'm going to do like the women's weights. Like, I don't care. What does it matter? Or I'd look at the women's weights and I would do like less than that. And I would really just focus on getting a good workout in, doing it right, not like forcing the movement when I'm tired and like hurting myself. And I just decided that was okay. Was the workout hard? Was it effective? Did I do my best? Was it intense enough? Yes. That's all that matters. Like, I don't need to do 325-pound whatever.
I was talking to someone on the podcast recently, and this came up about weights, and I was realizing, the annoying thing about weights is they're weights. They have numbers. You can see what the number is, and it's just almost natural to think, oh, I need a big number, or I need a bigger number than last time. And I said, there's nothing that is more. It's not even humbling that you have to get used to when you start thinking about paying attention to form, paying attention to really using the muscles the way they are instead of just pushing the weight. Of walking up to some woman who's about to finish, is finishing with a barbell workout, and you grab the barbell from her and remove some of those weights. Once you get used to that, it's okay, but it takes a little while. I mean, I'm curious, when you're working with clients, which is the more difficult thing, to get them to make adjustments to what they're doing or adjustments to how they're thinking about what they're doing?
That's a good question. I think both, really. I mean, I think the mind probably comes first because I think specifically guys, we just have like this ego, like you said, from wherever, like, oh, I can do that. And so I think mentally, what I do actually with my clients is I'll start them on like a fitness assessment and a mobility assessment is the first thing they do. I think for a lot of people, that's eye opening, whether that's mentally, maybe both, or like physically, because, it's just like, oh, how many pull-ups can you do? How many push-ups can you do? Just basic stuff. It's like run or walk a mile. And, you have a lot of, even my neighbors or just people I talk to, guys specifically, because that's kind of who I work with, but they think back to when like they last ran a mile and they're like, oh, I could run a 7-minute mile right now.
Yeah.
And I'm just like, you'd be lucky if you run a 15-minute mile. I'm just telling you, no offense. And then they go and they try to run the mile and they're just like, you know what I mean? Like the last time you ran it, you were 27 and maybe working out. Now you're 38 and you probably haven't really worked out, or maybe you've walked, maybe you've jogged, but then to go really try to push a mile time, it's just like, so that ego, I think, is in people's minds and they think like, oh, I used to bench press 300 pounds. Well, I think guys just think they can just do it. I'll get it back in no time. It'll be easy. I'll do it. And then they go try and they're like, holy cow, like I have lost a lot in the last 20 years.
I remember seeing a video, or like it was in the news, when Jack LaLanne turned, 90 or 95. I don't remember, something way, way old. And they're showing him working out. And most people didn't know Jack LaLanne, I think, it helped invent the universal gym, which used to be in every high school in America, just, multi-station gym.
Yeah.
And so they show him, he's still lifting, and they show him bench pressing, and he is like struggling, really pushing hard.
Yeah.
And if you look closely, though, you could see he had 20 pounds that he was pushing. So, it's at a certain point, like, again, back to sprinting. When I was at the first time I went to the senior games, when I turned 50, there was a bunch of 60-year-olds standing behind me, and they were saying, just wait till you turn 60. It all falls off a cliff. And there's a bunch of 80-year-olds standing behind them going, yeah, you have no idea what you're talking about. So the All-American time for the 100 meters goes from at my age now, it's I think 13.2 seconds, and then it very quickly ends up in the 17s. And by the time you're old like 90 plus, it's like 40 seconds. I mean, it's something outrageous. And you think, well, that can't happen. I mean, that won't be me. And it's like, oh no, you'll be lucky if that happens to you.
Yeah. I mean, they're probably like almost walking it.
You could easily walk and beat them if you're a younger person, but they're working as hard as they can. The first time I went to the World Master Track and Field Championships, I hung out a lot with the people who were 85 plus, because they were the most interesting, because, it is just not easy physically and emotionally, because, you're going, you remember what it was like 5 years ago, 10 years ago. And so it's fascinating talking to those guys. And my favorite thing, I asked them, so nature or nurture? And every one of them said the same thing. Oh, totally genetics that I'm here, totally training that I beat that guy. And even that, I think they're being a little glib. I think, any given Sunday, either one of those guys could have won, unless there's always like one or two guys in any age group who are just, again, such genetic freaks that you don't stand a chance no matter what. And, I'll tell you this, I just realized this. One of the weirdest things that happens is you have to not dwell on the thought. That's not even how to put it. I don't know how to say it. But when you start a race, you're thinking, I just hope everybody ends up healthy at the end of the race. And at the same time, you're thinking, crap, the only way I'm going to beat you is if you pull a hamstring. And it's this really bizarre competitive / wanting to be helpful and friendly thing that shows up. Like people turn to me. It's happened a couple of times at the beginning of a race. And they're like, good luck, man. Have a good race. And I go, hey, just relax. There's no bonus points. There's no money involved. No one's going to know if you won or lost. Have a good time. Stay healthy. And oh, by the way, I totally want to kick your ass. And that's where it gets fun, actually. Once you get, I think for you, maybe it'll happen earlier, but once you realize that it's kind of dumb to be this competitive, but you are anyway, then it becomes kind of silly. And if you confess up to it with everybody else, it's like having a secret handshake. It's like, oh, you're a competitive moron like me. Let's go have some fun. And let's hope that we end up, happy at the end of this, no matter what the outcome is.
Yeah, no, I definitely can relate to that. 'Cause, even my kid, my oldest son is 7 and he's so competitive. I'm just like, oh God, he's going to be like me. We got to like tone him down. But again, at the same time, it's like, that's something you can't like teach, it's innate. So I don't want to make him not feel that way, but it's hard when it's, he's 7 and he's doing soccer or gymnastics, and there's some kids that are in those sports that they're just there for the social, like they don't care, they're chasing butterflies, and he's like trying to win, and he gets like mad at them, and he's like, whoa, why are they paying attention, why are they just looking around, not stopping? Okay buddy, like it's okay, like just try to get better, have fun. You can't be that way, like they're not gonna like you. So it's hard to navigate that when he's he's not at a different level than a lot of kids. And, there are kids like him as well. So we're, navigating that right now with athletics. But again, like you said, you don't want to like tone it down too much, but you gotta have some tact when you're in those rec sports.
Well, now you have a goal that I didn't have as a goal, but happened for me when my nephew turned like 17, 18. He was suggesting that maybe we should race. And I said, it's not a good idea. And he said, why? I said, well, there's no way you'll win. He goes, well, I could beat you. I said, no, you're missing my point. Either you lose to a guy who's 57 or you beat a guy who's 57. Where's the upside?
Doesn't
you lose no matter what. And
no one's gonna think it's that cool.
So, we never had that race. It worked out okay. Well, it's funny though. I imagine, even though this is you're talking about your 7-year-old, but I imagine a handful of your clients are going through that same thing, and you're having to work with them through that. Again, the mental part of not only figuring out what your body can and can't do, or the physical part of figuring out what your body can't do, but the mental part again. And I'm just, again, so curious about that, because like the example I give, and I've said this on the podcast a bunch, it took me 2 years to learn when I got back into sprinting. It took me 2 years to learn that when I think, let me just do one more, that's the time to leave the track.
Yeah, for sure. Like I think, like I said, the assessment definitely helps.
Yeah.
Because they realize I'm not what I once was. It's like the whatever that song is, Toby Keith or something. Maybe I'm not as good as I once was, but I'm as good once as I ever was, or something like that.
Right. Yeah.
That's essentially what it is. Like, okay, well, but you're probably still not as good once as you ever were at that moment, because you can't lift, what you did lift. But at least you got to realize, okay, I can get close to that or back to that maybe eventually, but it's going to take some time, and I'm not going to go in the gym tomorrow and max out. And there's different ways to get intensity, I guess. So like you can slow down the weight, do like time under tension and pre-fatigue the muscles, or, do different accessory lifts, or change the lift a little bit so it's not so demanding on whatever's, bothering you, or your back or your shoulders or your hips. So just being smarter about some of that. And again, like you said, like some of these guys, they think like back to their, the last time they lifted might have been high school football. It's like, all right, well, you probably shouldn't be doing your high school football program at 37 years old or 42 years old. Like, you probably should be doing something else. And then they think they need to do that, or they don't know, or the amount of volume they think they need to do. Like, you don't need to be a bodybuilder. Like, you don't need to go in and do 16 sets of chest, like, in one day. It's like, oh, I'm going to do 4 sets of bench, I'm going to do 4 sets of incline, I'm going to do 4 sets of dumbbell flies, and then I'm going to do 4 sets of push-ups. Like, it's probably too much. That's how much I do in like a month, maybe. So that mindset's got to shift, as far as like less can be more, I guess, it's to not be cliche.
I think it's even more than that. I think it's not only less can be more, but actually less can. Well, that really is it. Let me say it this way. I remember working on this one exercise because it's really good for sprinting, Nordic hamstring curl. For people who don't know, you're kneeling on the ground, you're keeping something's holding your feet down, and then you try to keep your body as straight as possible and lean forward as far as you can, and then come back up. So I was working that, 3 sets of whatever, 3 or 4 times a week, and it just was never getting better. And then and this is going to lead into what I want to talk about next. I just didn't have time. I started doing like 4 or 5 sets of 5. And to be clear, the first set of 5 was pretty good. The second set was a little worse. The third set was worse. The fourth and fifth, I'm basically practically falling on the ground, but I just did them anyway, but just doing it once a week. And within a month, I could do Nordic hamstring curl all the way down, all the way back. And so, because the thing that as I've gotten older is something that's really hard for my brain to get wrapped around, is just how much recovery I need. I mean, way more than when it feels like I'm not sore and I feel okay. That's just a sign that I still need 3 more days. Yeah. So, and that was a tricky one, but which brings me to the thing that I want to talk about next is the second part of what you're doing is the busy part. Talk about, just what you're doing both for yourself and with clients who are dealing with the fact that they are busy working professionals and have a limited amount of time.
Yeah, again, it's like we keep coming out to the mindset. A little bit comes to that where you don't need to work out for like 2 hours, an hour and a half. You don't have the time anyways. Like when you're in high school, college, whatever, not beyond that, and you're single and you don't have a real career or whatever, you got time to go like waste for 2 hours in the gym and do whatever. But when you got a business or you got kids or you know, multiple jobs or whatever, you probably have an hour, maybe. So changing that mindset that you can get a lot done in a half hour, an hour, and that it's okay. It's better than nothing. Like to be like, oh, I can't go lift for 2 hours, so I'm not going to do anything, is the first step. And then just like I said, being smarter. Some of them just don't know, but you can just be efficient in the gym where your warm up is includes, you know, some accessory movements that are maybe good for mobility or good for, you know, strengthening like the muscles on your scapula or your hips or your ankles or whatever. You can do that stuff in the warm up and it warms you up, but it helps you kind of like improve your mobility, improve, you know, maybe some strength in some areas, you know, what maybe you're doing, you know, some modified, you know, Nordic curls or something as part of the warm up, and sort of rotate. And a lot of things will do like rotate through like either like supersets or you'll do like a exercise and you'll rest like 30, 60 seconds, do the next exercise, and kind of go through those things. So if you can be smarter with how you program and your time in the gym, you can get a lot more done in a short amount of time. And it's just as effective as, you know, going in and doing 4 sets of bench press and resting 2 minutes between each one. And you're doing 6 reps. And then it's like, well, that, you know, that takes forever for one. And all you got done was bench press. It's like you just wasted a half hour and you only did bench press. So a lot of that's, again, just realize you can get a lot done in an hour and it's fine. And then strategizing a little bit with how you're going through your workouts, staying on maybe more of a time cadence, rotating through, you know, whether you're doing supersets of the same muscle or if you do like supersets of like different muscles, like if I do like chest and then I do like a back, they're sort of opposing. So I'm not really fatiguing either one.
Yeah, so I was going to say, do me a favor. For people who don't know, give us a specific example, or in this case too, of what a superset could look like. Like name the specific exercise as an example, and then also if you can go back in time a little bit and talk about some of those exercises that would be sort of warm up / mobility / a little strength as well, just so people get a sense of what they might be able to do.
Yeah. So I mean, supersets or compound sets, or it can be. It just depends on your goals, but there can be a variety of them. So like it might be a lot of people might think of as just doing like the same muscle group, like two different exercises. So maybe you do like, I don't know, like bench press and then you rest a little bit and then you do like dumbbell flies or something. So you're still hitting chest, but it's like 2 different exercises and you're kind of resting in between just shortly or even doing it back to back to really like fatigue the muscle and hit the muscle hard in a short amount of time rather than having to rest like 2 minutes to another set, 2 minutes to another set. Or it could be like, if you want to get more like strength, muscle type things, specifically strength, you can do like opposing group. So where, like I said, maybe you're doing like push-ups or bench, and then you rotate it with like bent row or pull-ups. So you have like the chest, back, or like opposite muscle groups. So when you do one, you're not really like fatiguing the other one. So you can still hit both of them like pretty hard, even though you're only resting like 30 seconds to a minute in between each of those and then rotating through, you know, whether it's 2 or 3 exercises. So that's kind of like a superset, compound, giant set type idea. That really depends on your goal in some ways, but it saves a lot of time, obviously, because you're not resting forever and you're not just doing one set rest. As far as the warm up, so usually it'll be some sort of like cardio thing to just sort of get the heart going, the rate, your breathing going and get your heart rate up. But it depends on the day too. So if you're doing like a leg day or an upper body day or a full body day, the warm up I like to do just like activation things where maybe it's like an isometric, like maybe it's just like a wall squat and you're just holding the position for a little bit, or like a glute bridge where you like lay on your back and you bridge up with your feet on the ground and your butt off the ground, like in an L position for people that don't really understand, and just activating like the butt or the glutes or the quads or the hamstrings. Then you could do things that maybe focus on like range of motion. It might even be just like a longer body weight lunge or something, like you're going to lunge out a little bit further to kind of get a little better range of motion, or maybe put your front foot up on a weight or a height so you can get a little bit better range of motion. You're just doing body weight, warming up the muscles, getting through a further range of motion, helps with mobility, helps you warm up. And then, so like movements like that. So that might be like the three. You do a little like 1 minute bike, you do a 30-second wall squat, and then, or 30-second glute bridge, and maybe like a set of 10 to 15 walking long extended lunges or something for 2 or 3 sets. And that's a warm up. So you've got some mobility, you've got a little muscle endurance, you've got a little range of motion, a little activation to get the everything just ready to go.
Yeah, that's a great one. And for people who haven't done it, I mean, if you haven't done it in a while, doing a wall sit or wall squat where, back against the wall and you squat down until your thighs are parallel to the ground and your shins are perpendicular to the ground, and just stay there as long as you can, you will be humbled very quickly.
Yeah, like in 20 seconds.
I mean, and that's actually one of my favorite. I mean, let me say it differently. It's one of my favorite exercises that I hate because it does kick in fast and you're going, whoa, I don't know if I can make it. And it becomes as much of a mental game as a physical game. And at a certain point, you just fall down. There's nothing you can do. But it is one of those things that really puts into perspective what you can and can't do. And you can get much better at it for sure.
Yeah.
But when you start, if you haven't done that for a while, that one's going to put you in your place.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, like you can use them for strength building or for part of your actual workout too. So that's the thing, is you can take the movements you normally do and do them better form, better technique, slower, more range of motion. And that's, going to help you with one, get warmed up, but also improve your functional movement really. So if you're doing bench press, I don't know, maybe take the bar, do like a wider grip and just go like really far down, slow, 3 seconds down, focus on the movement and the contraction and even the isometric portion. It's a lot of different ways that people don't think about as far as like how you can activate the muscle, get it warmed up, or even strengthen it, build muscle, improve range of motion. I think people just have these like set concepts in their mind of like, this is how I build strength and this is how I stretch and this is how I do flexibility and this is how I do cardio. It's like you can intermix them with CrossFit, CrossFit. That's not the coined CrossFit, just being fit across anything. So I don't know, being like, you gotta be a little creative and open-minded to what maybe you're not used to. And, it's like we said, you don't have to go in and just squat as heavy as you can for 5 sets of whatever. You can get stronger and better and more functional and build muscle in different ways besides those traditional.
Yeah.
And they have a place, obviously. They've been around forever, but you can do it different ways and mix it up rather than just grinding yourself into the ground. And then, like a lot of my clients, they say, I'll go back to the gym. I'm good for like a month. And then I get hurt and then I'm out for like 2 months. And it's like, then I gain 30 pounds and then I try it and it's a cycle. I'm like, well, stop freaking going in the gym and warming up with the bar they go in, they put the bar on, they do 10 sets of bench press and they think they're warmed up. And then they throw on 2 plates and they try to do 225 for how many reps. And then their shoulder pops off. And it's like, well, no wonder, stop doing that. Like, why would you go back every time you do the same thing?
Yeah, no, I've been trying to think of how I want to say this. Lately, it's been coming up. It's like, if you're having some problem doing something, or if you're having some problem, the best thing to do is just figure out what the thing is that you were doing that led to it, and then just don't do that. And that one's a tricky one because people like, well, I can't do this motion anymore, or whatever it is. It's like, cool, then don't do it. You don't need to work to fix that one necessarily. There's a way around that. And like for me, I've got a messed up spine. I love deadlifting heavy and squatting heavy. I just can't do it anymore. I mean, it's really stupid if I do. So now I just do a lot of, single leg stuff where I'm putting myself in these more compromised positions that aren't putting any strain on my spine. And again, psychologically challenging to do that, but way, way better. And after a while, it becomes it becomes the new normal, and you don't miss doing the crazy heavy shit. And you like the benefits you're getting without getting wrecked.
Yeah, no, I was talking to like squats, like I like, but for some reason I've just never been like that mobile in my hips and ankles. And even my dad, like I must have his, like, that just like hurts me sometimes. I'm just like, to do like a back squat, I'm like, it's just not even like worth it. Like, why do I need to like put on all this weight and just sort of like, it just feels like it hurts. So, doing, like I said, Bulgarian split squats or, single leg squats or lunges, like you can still get just as strong and, get the same results without people just have this mental thing of like, I want to lift. And it's fine if you like that. I want to lift like so much weight. And I want to tell like all my buddies like how much weight I can lift. I did a post one time about like people asked me like when I was a teacher and even now, like, oh, how much can you bench? How much can you squat? How many pull-ups can you do? And I did a post one time that got kind of a decent amount of like engagement. And I honestly don't know. Like, I literally don't know. I don't even care. Like when I would do like deadlifts, like, I don't even know. I just start putting weights on and it gets hard. And if it's easy, maybe sometimes I'm supposed to do 6 reps. I'll just do 10. I haven't maxed out on like my pull-ups or bench press. Like, oh, how many times you bench 225? I'm like, I honestly don't even know the last time I put 225 on the bar for bench press. Like, I just like, who cares? I was on the post. I'm like, who cares like what your max is? Who cares how much you can lift? Like, I literally don't know. They're like, well, how don't you know? Don't you like need to record and like know if you're progressing or like know if you're getting better or stronger in your weights? And like, I don't know. Why do I? If I look good and I feel good and I feel like I'm building muscle, maybe I'm gaining weight in muscle or I'm losing weight, whatever my goal is. I don't know. I guess I don't care anymore. I don't care if I like bench 225 or 240 or so. That's a mindset too, is like, I just don't care. I just put weights on, I lift, it's a good workout and I'm done.
No, this is brilliant though, because it goes back to the thing I said in my intro. It's like, if you're not having fun, do something different than you are. And what you're doing is you're gauging it based on how you feel and what feels appropriate / enjoyable / and enjoyable doesn't mean that you're like whistling all day. It can be that you're pushing yourself, but which is enjoyable, but you're not doing it with some arbitrary number in mind, whether it's sets, reps, or weight. And that to make that more of like an intrinsic motivator of just paying attention to what feels right. It's like, hey, today's a good day. I'm going to throw on some extra weight. Hey, today I'm a little tired. I'm going to do a little less, 1 set less or less weight, whatever it is. That is so, so critical. And that one is so overlooked because, I mean, humans like to have things that are paint by numbers. It just makes life easy. We think that that's going to get us to our goal. And this idea that you need to actually pay attention to yourself in a way that will lead you to what you're going to do, that doesn't have those same metrics. I've seen that's a tricky one for people. Yeah,
it definitely is. Even for me, like I've changed this too. So I normally have been working out like 5 days a week. And maybe on my off days, I'll eat. Maybe one day I do nothing, but the other off day, maybe I'll do like light cardio, maybe some stretching, mobility motions, going through some just range of motion, yoga. But I've had to, like, I dropped to, there's been a couple of times in the last year specifically where I've dropped to 4 days per week. Like, all right, I'm only like, I just felt like overtrained when we had the twins. I just didn't have time when they were first born because I was so tired. And like, I'm like, my body was like starting to like hurt. I could tell I wasn't recovering. Like you said, I could tell I just wasn't helping me to work out that much. And for a while I was like, oh, I feel like I'm losing my gains. I need to I'm not pushing hard enough in my workouts. I can tell I'm just going through the motions. And eventually I was just like, I think I'm going through the motions because my body's not ready to go through the motion intensely. So I decided, I'm like, that's okay if I can only do 4 days a week. So I dropped to 4. And then all of a sudden I started to feel like I could work out more intensely. And I'm like, oh, I feel pretty good today. Like that was, that extra day off was apparently what I needed. So then my workouts were better because I wasn't so just, beaten to the ground, so to speak. So I've done that twice. I just dropped down to 4 days a week for the last month again to, I don't know, just like I said, I didn't want to overtrain. And I don't know, maybe that will be my new norm. And now that I'm 42, the 4 days is maybe my spot. And the off days I'll do like some cardio. I'll do maybe some body weight stuff. Like I don't always do nothing on my off days, but it's definitely not going in, hitting some weights, hitting like a metabolic conditioning circuit and getting after it. And that's, again, a mindset that a lot of guys specifically need to be able to accept, because once you start getting the gains or you start losing weight, it's like, oh, I just lost 10 pounds. And then now I can't drop to 4 days worth per week or 3 days per week because I'm going to lose all my gains, and like I'm going to gain all that weight back or whatever. And it's they start thinking that they want to do more. Like, oh, I lost 10 pounds. So if I do more, I'm going to lose 30 pounds, or I gain 5 pounds of muscle. If I do more, I'm going to gain 10 pounds of muscle. And it's not really how it is. There's at some point, a no return, or you're not going to get returns on your investment at some point.
Yeah. Well, I've got a story that's the opposite of that in a weird way. It makes the same point from a different direction. When I was in college, there were two women on the gymnastics team who had been trained by their parents up until they went to college and had never worked out more than 3 days in a week. And they were national champions. Then they got to college and they were working out 5 days a week. Never had more than 3 weeks till they were injured. Never had an injury up until then. And, and they couldn't convince the coach that they needed to go back to 3 days a week. He's like, no, you got to work through it. It's like, we can't tolerate that. And for me, and this is just because of a combination of time and energy, I'm a 2 day a week guy right now. I mean, 2.5, like 2 days of lifting 1 day on the track, because that's all I've got. And sometimes, to be totally candid, sometimes if it's a crazy busy week where I'm rolling out of bed at 5 and getting back home at 8, then that week's off. And I don't beat myself up about it. I wish I had time to do more is the best way I can say it. But even those 2 a week, it's valuable. It's working. It's doing things. I'm improving in certain ways. Or at least I'm staying consistent in others. And so again, just this whole thing of helping people figure out what works for them is something that I really, appreciate your mindset about that, because that's one that it's not as easy to sell in some ways, and it's certainly harder for people to adapt to at first.
Yeah, it's definitely tough for a lot of my dads to kind of understand that each person's a little bit different. So what your buddy's doing might not be what you need to do, or what. It's every person's body's different. You're like 3 days might be good for you. 4 days might be good for someone else. This many sets might be good for you. So it's not like there's a one, size or one template that works for every single person, and it's okay to like take days off, and it's okay to do 3 days versus 5 days. If that's all you can do, then that's all you can do. And two, it might be all that you need to do. So, and then that's what I've realized too, is I don't need to do as much as I once did. And it becomes like, so sometimes like with my clients, I become a little bit of and I by no means like a perfect dad fitness person I have it together all the time, because who does? On social media, people think that like, oh, this guy, he's got it so together. Like he's got the best life ever. No, it's like, it's controlled chaos, or sometimes just chaos. Especially like in the last couple of weeks with school starting, it's been like our kids are in so many sports, school's starting, my wife's starting to back to school. She's a teacher. It's been just like a mess. But anyways, like sometimes I'm a mentor to like some of my clients beyond just fitness and nutrition and such, and just talking them off the ledge, so to speak. Like they'll miss a couple of workouts and they'll be like, oh, it's all shit now. This week's terrible. I missed these 2 workouts. I ate pizza and drank beer last night, and like it's over. Like it's just, and they just want to like, I'm like, okay, well, maybe you enjoyed yourself. Maybe you needed that. And then, but then they beat themselves up so much that they almost like lose motivation. And then maybe they were doing well, and then they kind of want to quit, or they go off the rails more, and like for the next 5 days, then they like binge eat and drink and don't work out. And it's like, well, now you just took what was 1 or 2 days and made it a week just because you were upset with yourself.
Yeah.
So I got to talk and be like, hey, it's all right. You had a weekend, friends came over, you can enjoy it. Sure. Whatever. You had a few beers. All right, let's get back on the horse today. Go back to work out. It's fine. It's not the end of the world. We're in this for like the long haul. So you're not in this for like a 6-week shred, and now you mess it up and your 6-week shred's over. Well, okay, but that's not what we're doing. We're doing a, 40-year shred, or whatever it is, a lifelong shred. So a day in the whole scheme of it is irrelevant.
That's another point that I love is on our end, we get it when someone says, well, I want to run a marathon in 6 weeks. Can I switch to your shoes? And it's like, well, A, I have no idea. And B, don't be a moron. And it's simply, people get these ideas about what they want to be able to do that are often completely unmoored from reality. And to get people in line with, this is not, like you said, it's not a 6-week shred. This is not a cookie cutter program where we're going to start here, end here, and everything's going to be fine along the way. To get people into that mindset. It's not even a longer term mindset. Again, it's just a not I don't want to put it. It's a more in line with reality mindset, and reality will include one day some of your friends are going to come over and you're going to, order 2 pizzas and have a great time. And
Yeah.
and you're going to, forget that you had a great time. It's kind of like I had a friend who was going through cancer treatment, and her roommate was I don't remember what she called herself, basically a vegan, natural foods, whatever thing, was just making her drink green drinks all day, every day. And I would call her every 2 weeks and go, is it time? And she'd say, yes. And I would take her out for donuts, and I would buy one of every donut at this place and say, have as much or as little of any of these as you want. And we'll, give the rest away. And afterwards I said, which do you think is helping you more, all the green drinks or just how much fun this is? And she went, the fun.
Yeah.
So that doesn't mean, it doesn't mean you eat donuts every day. It means, if you're going to enjoy it. And then you go back and, start again.
Yeah. So, no, it's consistency obviously matters. And, you do that every day. Obviously you're not going to be healthy and get what you want, reach your goals. But I'm a big proponent, like you said, of enjoying life and fitting these things into your lifestyle. And, if you have birthdays or weddings or, it's not, I feel like it's not, I don't know. That's not the way to live, I guess, to just never be able to really enjoy some of these moments because you're, and some people like it. Like if you like that and you're like, all right, I don't want to do any of that ever. And I just feel better. And sometimes like I'll have a birthday and I'm like, all right, today I'm just going to eat the cake. I'm going to eat the pizza, whatever, and have some drinks. I don't care. I'm going to enjoy this. And no, do I feel like crap the next couple of days? I mean, yeah, a little bit. Yeah, I can tell, like, because I eat fairly decent for the most part. But again, like I said, I'm not like perfect. I'm not eating, salads and chicken for every single meal. I just like vices, and I like, desserts and cakes and cookies, and I like bourbon from time to time. So that's the thing is once I started going on social media, is people would. A lot of the naysayers or whatever, I guess maybe I'm like fairly fit or fit for my age. I don't feel like I'm as fit as I was when I first started because like I feel like the twins have aged me like 5 years. I swear. Like God, I think I just got 5 years older in the last 12 months. But they would be like, "Oh yeah, it's easy when you got a garage gym and you just can work out for 3 hours a day and you're just home all day or whatever and you're just a fitness guru." And I'm just like, okay, well, I work full time and this is like a side thing. I got 4 kids and I will literally work out an hour at most a day.
No,
so
you're making
5 days a week. I'm like,
yeah,
sorry.
I think you're making a better point than you think. And which is this in a different way. It goes back to expectations. There are a couple of fitness guys who I'm friendly with who have started posting things saying, look, if you're a guy and you're at 15% body fat, you're doing fine. You really don't need to be this idea that you should be at 10. And especially if you're getting older, you got your head up your butt. That's just not real. You're not going to live that way. And so that's just another thing. I love that you're not positioning yourself as the model to, well, let me say it differently. You're not positioning yourself as some unrealistic model. You're positioning yourself as a real person and you're helping real people do real things. That's why I wanted to have this conversation, because there's so many people who are not that. And either it's because, I mean, my God, the number of fitness guys that I bump into online who are in their 50s, 60s, 70s, and they're so clearly taking a just boatload of steroids to do what they're doing. It's like, come on. I mean, that's just ridiculous. Or this one guy that I've known for years who he said, well, I'm taking testosterone replacement therapy, but I'm just at the high end of normal. I went, yeah, but before you didn't have any problems. You weren't symptomatic. Yeah. So you just had a low free testosterone rate. Right now, you're jacked. You're at 10 times what you were before. That's not normal for your body. It's like, well, and then, and a few lately who have gotten the hint, especially as they've gotten into their late 60s, early 70s, there are a couple of these guys who've gone, yeah, this isn't working for me. And they've started getting off of some of those drugs, and watching how their bodies have changed is dramatic. But they've become more normal, and we have no idea what the long-term effects of certain kind of hormone replacement stuff is. So there's that component as well. But it is interesting watching, and I'll be curious to see what happens over the next few years as some of these fitness guys continue to age. What's going to change in what they're recommending because of what they're doing or the effects of what they've been doing?
Yeah, no, I mean, there's just a lot of naysayers and haters on social media, and I've had to get a little bit of a thick skin with that.
Yeah.
It's like, whatever. But that's too, they'd be like, oh, you're on TRT or steroids or what's the other, is it Tren or something? What's the other?
It's Tren's one of the, I mean, it's not
form of it.
But yeah.
Yeah. So I'm just like, all right, well, first of all, if I was on steroids, I hope I would be a lot like bigger and more jacked and more fit than I am. Because otherwise, like, it's not worth taking them. It's talking about nothing against people that need TRT and all that stuff, like you said. But because they're asking about like TRT and if I do it and if they should. And like, I've talked to my brother who's into fitness too and coaching and I talked to a doctor who was like a endocrinologist, a specialist once, and his analogy was pretty good. So basically, like you said, if you don't need that, if you're not deficient in if your body's not deficient in producing testosterone, he's really against like prescribing it because you get on a path that you might not be able to get off. So like if you start prescribing someone testosterone and they don't need it, yeah, you're going to get all these benefits or whatever. And there are some negative things that can happen as well. Like it can impact like your hematocrit and your blood cells and your bone density and some other things they're finding. But you might not ever be able to get off because your body's going to essentially like, oh, I don't need testosterone anymore because I have all this testosterone, and it might shut down producing it. So then it's like, okay, well, do you want to take it forever? Cost wise, one, or two, like we don't know some of the negative effects that might happen from that. So it's like, okay, maybe someone's a little low in testosterone, but the range of testosterone is so big that like my normal might be lower than your normal, but it doesn't mean like I'm less of a man or I'm, I'm not healthy. So people need to be careful with that and just going and doing it and you could find all these, there's not doctors, but there's like those institutes that's what they do. We give you TRT, come in. They're not going to say no. They give it to whoever pays for it. And you're going to get results, obviously, man or woman, you're going to get physical results. But again, it's just it's a slippery slope.
At what cost? Yeah.
What if you never get off?
This is a variation on the theme, but I got to say it for the fun of it. There's some guy who in town who's got some new device for helping with back pain, and since I've got messed up back, I was curious, and they want to charge like $60 for the evaluation before they decide what to do. And I said, how many? What percentage of people after they have the eval do you not recommend that they come in for treatment? He said, oh, we've never not recommended that. I went, then I'm not coming to see you guys.
Yeah, everybody needs it. Yeah, every single person has back
seems
problems.
A little unlikely that you got 100% hit rate for turning people from a trial into clients. So, well, Carl,
I'm surprised you said that.
I was shocked. Well, I found that if you ask people enough questions long enough, they eventually tell you something they're not supposed to. So that was one. There's stuff in marketing where people call me about things and I'll ask them a bunch of questions and they'll finally reveal that their stuff doesn't really work. And it's very entertaining. But anyway, so Carl, this has been a total pleasure. If people want to get in touch with you and find out what a realistic path to being a healthy, happy person might be, whether you are an actual dad or not, and regardless of really how busy you may be, even though busy dads is what you like to say your niche is, how can they find you and get in touch with you and take the next step?
Yeah, so you can go to my website, which is just livefitcarl.com. And all my social media handles are livefitcarl, LIVKARL. So livefitcarl. And then, that's really it. So if you go to Instagram, TikTok, just find Live Fit Carl, you'll find me, or go to livefitcarl.com and you can fill out the form there. And essentially it'll go to my team and we'll reach out to you and set a time to talk to you and see what we can do for you. But that's the easiest way. If you go online, you search Live Fit Carl, you'll find me. And
Carl with a K.
Yep. Carl with a K.
Perfect. Dude, again, total pleasure. I do hope people take advantage of that. And I just love it when I get to introduce people to someone who is not crazy. And happily, I've never had anyone. Well, pleasure. And I've never had anyone on here who is, because then why would I want to talk to them other than to, say, hey, you're crazy, which usually no one has had the balls to say that to them. So it's kind of fun to do, but haven't had the chance lately. So that's a good thing. Anyway, For everyone else, first of all, thank you for being here. And don't forget to go check out the website at www.jointhemovementmovement.com and find the previous episodes and ways to find us on social media. And if you have any questions or comments or requests, or if there's someone you think that I should have a conversation with, especially if you can find someone who's willing to talk to me who might think I have cranial rectal reorientation syndrome, just send them my way. Drop an email to me at move, MOVE, at jointhemovementmovement.com. And until then, most importantly, just go out, have fun, and live life feet first.